Hello, I'm live. And boy, do I have a wonderful guest for you today. I don't see anybody joining just yet, but I'm going to start off by introducing myself. Oh, I see a few people joining. All right. Can you hear me? If you can hear me, I'd love to know who you are and where you are joining from. All right. If you're new here, my name is Patricia Brooks, and I'm an American who moved to the south of France in 2018. And now I help people who are ready to start the next chapters of their lives living and thriving in a foreign country. And on my channel, I talk about my life in France, about moving abroad, and how to live the kind of life you know you were meant to. And on this live stream, I have an amazing guest. Robin Allison Davis is joining me today. But before we jump into that, I would like to share one announcement. May 30th, I will be having another Women Rising Roundtable. Now, these are events for women who are ready to move their lives forward, who enjoy personal development and the company of other like-minded women. The topic of May's roundtable is the audacity to desire, expanding what you allow yourself to want. Because as women, we have been socialized to tell ourselves that what we want is selfish, or who are we to want those things. And during this session with 9 women and myself, we are going to unpack that. And there's going to be a workbook, a pre-workbook. And the amazing part about these roundtables are that you get to realize that you're not the only person who has these feelings or is going through or what you're going through. And you may meet some really neat women. All right. So if you're interested in that, I'm going to put a link to that in the chat in just a second, so that you can check that out and sign up. Okay. So let's see who we have. We have Cheryl, PhD from Michigan, joining us. We've got a hi, Linda. We got L. Randall, 56, from Hawaii. Lisa Hamilton, Marseille, France. Okay, wonderful. Oh, and Angela. Hi, Angela. Bonsoir from Bordeaux. Yes, yes. Are you excited about today's guest? I am. I am. All right. I'm going to bring her on in a minute. But if you're not aware, Robin is an Emmy Award-winning journalist who moved to Paris in 2016. And she is the author of a very good book called Surviving Paris. Right? You see that? And she is going to share the ins and outs of getting set up, situating yourself, establishing yourself in Paris. All right. So I'm going to bring her on. I'm going to let her share a little bit more about herself with me. Hey, Robin, how are you?
I'm doing well, Patricia. How are you?
I am good. Thank you so much for joining me today. So excited to hear your story.
I'm very excited to be here.
Yeah. So can you share just a little bit more? I gave you a very, very, very high level bio. Can you share a little bit more about yourself?
Yes, so I am 42 years old and I've been living in Paris for 10 years. I moved here from New York City, where I was living for 10 years as well. And it's been quite a wild ride ever since I moved here. I'm an Emmy Award winning journalist. And as you mentioned, my book just came out last September, Surviving Paris.
Yes, and that is such a great accomplishment. I read it a couple months ago, and your story is it's interesting, it's intriguing, it's harrowing in parts. So we're going to dig in a little bit more to that as well. But we're talking about the ups and downs of establishing yourself in Paris. And I know for me, when I moved to Perpignan, that's where I first started out. I I was on cloud 9. Those first 2 weeks, I couldn't believe that I had done it. And but after at the beginning of week 3, I fell. I had this kind of a breakdown where
Mm.
I wasn't sure that I had made the right decision because I was all alone. I didn't know anybody. My French skills, which I thought when I was in the US, I thought, oh, yeah, I'm good. My French is good. When I got here, I was like, yeah, maybe not. And so all of that, and I had quit my job. So I wasn't working. I was living off of savings. So all of that accumulated at the end of 2 weeks, and I had a meltdown. Um, what was it like when you first made your move to Paris? And did you have a wake-up call moment like that?
Oh, I would say that I had multiple wake-up calls. And the first one was probably about less than a week in. I had a hard time finding an apartment. I came to Paris to do a master's degree so I could get a student visa, establish myself in France, and I was the oldest person in my program. So I was like, okay, I'm feeling old. I can't find an apartment. It's August and it's very hot and nowhere has air conditioning. So I'm just hot and tired and really trying to find an apartment. I found a place and it was so small. I say in my book, it's the size of an American parking space.
Oof.
So yes, that was the bathroom, the kitchen, everything. And I just thought, what am I doing? Why did
The
I leave such
bathroom too? Oh my
Yes,
gosh.
the bathroom too, which you could reach from the kitchen. So, so I just thought, what am I doing? And I really had to try to push past those feelings and say, okay, you know what, Robin, keep going. It's got to get better. It's got to get better from here, right? That's what
Mhm,
I was thinking. But I've had so many
mhm,
moments like that.
mhm. Yeah, yeah. Um, and so there's this idea of, people decide that they visit Paris and they say, Paris, so romantic. What a beautiful city. I'd love to live here. There is and so some people think, oh, yeah, maybe one day I'll move to Paris. But there is the real life Paris and there's the vacation life Paris. Can you share a little bit about what is different? Because you did visit Paris. Wow, your
Yes.
story with Paris is interesting. You have visited Paris before. Can you share what some of those differences are in terms of the real life Paris?
Well, the biggest difference is bureaucracy. You are
Mhm,
setting up your life in a different country, and it doesn't work at all like it does in the US. It's very
mhm,
much into like paperwork and making sure you have this document, that document, so many different documents. An example is that in my first apartment, I could never get internet because they said, we need the name of the last person that lived in your apartment in order to give you internet. So why? Why do you need that?
mhm,
And the thing is, someone new had bought the place before I moved in. So they didn't even know who the last person was. They tried to also help me. I went to different companies. No one could get my internet set up because they said, no, we need the exact name and number of this last person who lived in your apartment before you, which I feel
mhm.
like Time Warner Cable wouldn't have cared. They just they just would have
Yes.
charged me the 300 setup and it would have been fine. So it was a lot of little things like that. There was all Obviously there was a little bit of culture shock as well.
Mhm,
I really thought that because I was moving from New York City to another major city, that it would be similar. But there were a
mhm,
lot of things that were lacking. Back then, it's different now, but a lot of things were closed on Sundays. A lot of places didn't have websites. If you were trying to find information for where you could go for something, there was no website. The hours were different, and you're just trying to navigate all these things and do all of this outside of your native language. So
mhm,
it was a lot. There's quite a learning curve when you come to
mhm,
Paris or France in general.
mhm. And so why did you decide that you wanted to study abroad in Paris?
Well, I knew that I wanted to have an international career because I've been working for 10 years as a journalist, television journalist, and I wanted to move abroad. But I was trying to apply for jobs abroad because I had no intentions of ever leaving journalism. So I started applying for jobs, and I always got to the point where they said, oh, do you have a visa? And I said, no, I don't. Or, oh, do you have a passport, EU passport? No, I don't. And I wouldn't get the job. No one would sponsor. So after going through that several times, I thought, okay, what is another path to get abroad? And I started looking into the student visas. And for me, with Paris, I made a list of what I need out of a city to be happy, to build my life.
Mhm.
And it turned out that Paris really fits that. I was looking for green space, lots of cultural
Mhm.
activities, very diverse, major city. It was a list of things, and Paris hit every single one. So did London, but I decided that Paris would probably be the best fit for me.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, and so it seemed like a good fit for you, and then you get here and there's all of this bureaucracy that makes completely no sense.
Mhm.
Um, I th I think, for me, I think that, people might hear that and they might think, "Oh, yeah, it's paperwork. It's, how hard can it be?" But so why do you think that? Because I've heard that from other people who've moved not only to Paris but other parts of France, that it just is something that is is so hard. Why do you feel like, because some people might not really truly understand why that is such a big challenge?
It's just very daunting because a lot of times you don't necessarily understand what paperwork you need, who needs it, where to get it from. And it's something that honestly French people complain about all the time. So it's not just a moving abroad thing. French people will tell you that France is very bureaucratic and they're very much into paperwork. And then sometimes the paperwork to me doesn't make too much sense because they have
Mhm.
like there's a paper that you can make that's an attestation, and you can just kind of write it and then sign it. And they're just like, yes, this works. And you're like, really? That's it?
They
Like,
just need the paper to go in the file, right?
really? I'm like, you know, anything more official to say? And no, they may not, but they need that paper. So it's just it takes a while to kind of understand everything that you need. And there are people out there that will help you in terms of moving abroad. You can always get an attorney, you can
Mhm.
always get an accountant, all these different things. But if you're
Mhm.
going at it on your own, sometimes the paperwork can be daunting.
Yeah, yeah, and I think the other piece of that is that everything is so new, right? And there's a lot of stuff stuff that doesn't make sense that they're asking you for, that maybe you don't have access to.
Mhm.
And, if it's one thing, okay. If it's two things, but seems to pile up, and like at some point there seems to be this breaking point. I know, what I'm going through now is my visa, or my carte de séjour, is going to be up in September, and I've heard that there have been backups, like the
Mhm.
French government is backed up, and so
Yes.
I'm trying to get an early start, and the website that I was told to go to isn't functioning properly, right? So now I got to figure that out. So
Oh
I
gosh.
agree with you. I agree with you that that is really challenging.
Mhm.
You spoke about your apartment. Your initial apartment was very, very small. In your
Yes.
book, you that's one of the things that keeps coming up, is that search for the right apartment. Um, what is it? Is your experience different from most people's in terms of finding an apartment, or do you think it's typical?
It depends on the path that you take. There are a lot of different paths you can take to getting an apartment in Paris. I was going through my school at one point and then decided to go through agencies, which agencies have nice apartments, but the Paris rental market is very tight. Everyone needs an apartment. And it's very, very difficult to get apartments often if you are not French, if you do not have a
Mhm,
CDE contract, which is
mhm,
a contract that is lifelong, essentially work contract. If you don't have three times the rent, or you don't have a garant, a French garant. So that is something
mhm,
as well. So it can be very difficult. And I found for me, I was trying to find a place that I could feel comfortable in. And as a single person who is not French, who didn't have a French work contract, who didn't have a French garant, but had the money, for the apartment, I still wasn't getting anything that was on the level that I thought I deserved. I was still
Mhm.
being pitched lots of very tiny studios. I was like, well, I moved from a one bedroom in New York that was very nice. I don't understand why I'm not getting the equivalent here. So it was very
Mhm.
difficult because a lot of times the landlords say, oh, why would I rent to an American? You can just pick up and leave and never pay the rent. But why would I do that, sir? Why? Why is that your
Mhm.
assumption? So I have seen so many apartments in Paris, and in the book, I've had 8 apartments in
8.
Paris.
Ooh.
Yes, 8
And you've
apartments.
lived there 10 years.
Yes, but at the point where I wrote that, I believe it was 7 years. So I had 8 apartments in 7 years.
Wow.
And they had a variety of issues. And then also there are times when the landlord wanted to sell, and so they kicked me out for that. So it's very tough. It's very tough. If you found a great apartment and they're going to hold on to you as a tenant, then stay there. Stay
Mhm.
there.
Mhm. Yeah. So that you eventually used the agency versus the school for.
Well, I tried to use the school originally, and they
Mhm.
were giving me
Mhm.
apartments that just weren't up to par. And so then I started using the agencies
Because
where
maybe if you were younger, you would have been okay with it.
yes, yes, they were definitely for people who just moved out of a dorm room into their first
Mhm.
apartment. I was like, okay,
Uh-huh.
well, I'm 32, so that's not me. Um, but going to the agencies, yes, there's more variety, but often you pay more with some of these agencies when you go to the ones that are expat oriented. A lot of times you're paying more than just what French people would be paying. And still, you're dealing with landlords who are can be very interesting. Very
Mhm.
interesting bunch.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. So I think that, what I'm gathering from you is that the bureaucracy was a big challenge. Being in a city where the housing market is tight was a challenge for you. Um, and that did you ever consider just leaving?
No, no.
Okay.
I
With
actually
all of
didn't
that. Yeah.
believe it. With all of that, I didn't. I've always loved a good challenge. I didn't realize that about myself until recently, but I do think I like
Mhm.
being challenged. And the thing
Mhm.
is, when things go right, it is so rewarding. It's so
Mhm.
because you're like, I worked hard for this. I did
Mhm.
my best to get this. So there's just such a feeling of pride that comes when you think, okay, I made it. I got this beautiful apartment. Or, oh, like they approved my visa. Like the paperwork was amazing. They said that my
Mhm.
file was in order. It's just all those little things that just make you so happy. In addition to the life here, Paris is a
Mhm.
beautiful city. It's a wonderful
Mhm.
place to live. So even despite all of that, I didn't think about leaving.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and we've got a comment here from Linda Houston about the administration. You're so right about paperwork. I'm filing my first tax return. I have many bank accounts in the U.S. failed to close out. They literally want a 4-page form for each bank account. Yep.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yep. Yep. That.
That's it. Don't
The-
even get started on the banking situation here, but that's for another day.
oh no, maybe not. Well,
Well, maybe not. Well, I have a friend who recently moved here and got a French bank account, and she didn't
mhm,
understand why there was a plafond, like a ceiling on
mhm,
her spending, because
mhm,
that's what they do on the bank accounts here. They limit how much you can actually spend each month, and they set the limit. You can change it, but they set it. Why? Why are you budgeting for me? Like, I didn't understand. And when she found this out with her bank account, she was like, "Why are they cutting me off?" She was so upset. She
but it
oh
was her money. It wasn't a credit
yes.
card, right?
No, no, it's your money from your debit account. They set a ceiling as to how much you can spend.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. Wow. So you moved to France in 2016
Mhm,
and for school,
mhm.
and then you had a health problem.
Yes.
Where did that fall? Were you still in school? Can you fill us in with that?
So no, I was not still in the program. I actually finished and had just started a new job. And I was so
Mhm.
excited about this new job. I was like, great, my life in France is about to take off. Excellent.
Mhm.
And that's when I felt a lump in my breast. And I was able to go see my gynecologist just for a regular routine checkup because I didn't think the lump would be anything. And she felt it and sent me for testing. And that's when I was diagnosed with stage 0 DCIS breast cancer, which was devastating for me. No one in my family, immediate or otherwise, has ever had breast cancer. So that was shocking because I never would have thought, oh, I'm just 34 years old. Why would I have no family history? I don't understand. And I was diagnosed and they wanted to have a single mastectomy done on me. So that was a big shock. And they wanted to do it within about 2 weeks of my diagnosis. Thankfully, my family was able to fly over and be with me.
Mhm.
And thank you, Sierra. Um, and they were with me for the surgery. Surgery was done. They did a great job. I went through reconstructive surgeries and things like that after. But it was a scary experience to go through something like that so far from home, not knowing the healthcare system at all. And I
Mhm.
didn't feel like I could go back to the US for it. I considered it, but I said, well, if they want to operate so quickly, then maybe that means I don't have time to go back to the US
Mhm.
and try to get on like Medicaid and try to all these different things because I didn't have a
Mhm.
job in the US. I had no health insurance in the US. So
Mhm.
everything was done here.
Yeah, yeah, and so that was before then, like, because there was a point in time when you couldn't go back, right? You chose to stay initially, but there was a point in time where you couldn't go back for
Mhm.
treatment,
Yes.
because of COVID, right?
Yes. So in 2022, July, no, 2020, July of 2020, about 2 years pretty much since the mastectomy, I was diagnosed with a cancer recurrence.
Mm.
And that was devastating for me because I really thought my life was on the up and up, despite it being COVID. I was still, in my apartment during the lockdowns, like, yes, when they let us out, like I'm about to really live my life because I'm done with my surgeries and everything. And no, thought you were done. You were not. So I
Wow.
was diagnosed. My doctor felt a lump in my armpit on the same side and went for testing and all of that. And it came back as cancer. But I'm I'm so grateful that I was in France because I don't think that my cancer would have been diagnosed so early if I had been in the US. And I say
Really?
that, yes, absolutely. Because when my doctor felt the lump, we had blood work done. Nothing showed up, no tumor markers showed up. I had a sonogram, I had a biopsy, everything was inconclusive, an MRI, inconclusive. They said, okay, well, let's do a PET scan. And I'm thinking, okay, PET scan, that's in the US, that's very expensive. But in France, they're just like, yeah, let's get a PET scan to see. PET scan came back inconclusive. And then my doctor said, you know what? Let's just open you up and take a look. And so I had surgery, and that is how they diagnosed it the second time.
Oh, wow.
And I just know from my experiences with the American healthcare system, I mean, I often was getting so many denials for different tests, just even much smaller tests. I can't
Mhm.
see something like that proceeding in the same way had I been in the
Mhm.
US. So I am
Mhm.
eternally grateful to France and their
Yeah.
healthcare system and the way that they operate there. I'm not in a system of denials and delays.
Yeah, yeah. So, that's one of the things that many people think of when they think of France and potentially moving here is the quality of the healthcare system.
Yes.
Um, but it's different
Mhm.
from the United States healthcare system. Uh, what was the what was the most surprising difference for you between the US system and the French system?
I would say during my first time dealing with cancer, it was paying upfront and being reimbursed. That was a problem for me because I had not been working. I was in my master's
Mhm.
program. I've been working a little bit, but nothing major. And when they tell you within 1 week, they want you to have like an MRI, a biopsy, a sonogram, and you pay all this up front. And they're like, oh, yeah, but you'll get reimbursed. And I'm like, well, I don't have the money to keep. I mean, I was thinking to myself, man, I wish I had like the $50 copay and then just send me the bill in the mail and I've got time to figure it out.
Mhm.
So for me, that was really difficult for me in the
Mhm.
beginning. And I still had some issues paying for some of my surgeries as well. And people often say, oh, in France, everything's free. It's free. It's free. It's not free. But it is subsidized. We do pay for it with our taxes. It is excellent health care. But I did have financial difficulties having to
Mhm.
pay for so many of my tests and different things like that. So it
Mhm.
wasn't 100% a free ride. I will say that the next thing that surprised me is what I said also about the delays and denials, that your doctor can just order a test and it's just done. You just get it
Mhm.
done. There's
Mhm.
no one to hold you back, and they can prescribe whatever test they want to get the answers, and no one's
Mhm.
gonna tell them no, unless you
Yeah.
are.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that piece of paying up front. And then if you're, having a lot of tests, even though they may be l- relatively less expensive, it's still if you haven't been working, right?
Right.
It's gonna be a challenge. Yeah.
As
Yeah.
well as the salaries are much lower here as well too. So even once I
Mhm.
started working, I was making, I think I took what's about a 40% pay cut, I think, from what I
Oh,
was
wow.
making in the US.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. Yeah. And you were in New York, right?
yeah, yeah. So
But with that 40% pay cut, what is your quality or standard of living in Paris?
to me, it was still amazing. It was
Mhm.
amazing because coming from New York, I think I still, even I've been here 10 years, I still kind of refer to things as New York prices. So to me, things are still a lot cheaper than where I came from. And you're able to live a good life on not as much money here. So
Mhm.
that is a good
Mhm.
thing. There are lots of free things to do. There are lots of cheap things to do. Going out to eat is not as expensive. Groceries are, I'm still shocked by my grocery bill sometimes. I'm just like, wow, look at all these items I have. And then when I go to the US, I have maybe half the amount of items and triple the grocery bill. So it's easy to live a good life on a lower salary. The biggest expense is definitely rent, I would say.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I was gonna say, like, rent in Paris it's known for having high rent.
Yes.
Um, but I was also gonna say, I haven't been back to the US in 3 years, and I talk to people all the time who live there, and, like, you wouldn't believe how expensive things have gotten. And so, that was the question I was gonna ask you, but you've been back, and so you've experienced that firsthand.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
it's very shocking to me. My sister's always surprised how much I want to go to I think it's Lidl. And I'm like, yeah, because like giant food is too expensive. Safeway's too expensive. Like
Mhm,
I'm going to
mhm.
Lidl. Like it's insane. The cost of food in the US.
Alright, well, we've got a question here that's around work from, Linda, and, do you have the right to work now in France? Did you get a journalism job? And what are the challenges and benefits, of working in Paris?
So I did get a job. I When I finished my program, I was able to get a job at an international organization. So I was got my visa sponsored by them. I was working as their multimedia executive.
Finally, right?
Yes, the international organizations are I would probably say the easiest ways to get your visa sponsored because they have their different quotas for they need Americans, they need Spanish people, they need French people, they need people from whoever their member countries are.
Mhm,
So I did get a sponsored visa for that job, and I was at that job 5 years.
mhm.
And even though it was international, it was still culturally very French. I coming from television, it was very different for me. I was working a job where news could break and we're going to get an hour about this on air in just like 6 hours, and we're just going to do it. And coming from that kind of doer work culture to a work culture where they just like to have a lot of meetings and
Mhm.
discuss things before we actually ever really do anything. The meeting culture drove me insane. It really drove
Okay. So tell me a little bit more about that.
just lots of meetings. I never had so many meetings in my working life ever. Everything needed to have a meeting. And I didn't understand why we weren't just kind of moving forward on things instead of constantly meeting about what we think we might do at some point once we finish 15 meetings.
And so was that the excessive meetings? Was that because were they trying to get to a consensus? Was it because it was international and maybe the communication wasn't so good and so people weren't clear on what was going to
No,
happen? Or
no, it was not about that. It's just the kind of the culture, really. I've been told that working in an international organization, they do like to have a lot of meetings. That's just how they operate. But then also, I've heard that in private work in France is also the same way. So I just kind of feel like it was doubled up where I was working. And I also found the work culture to be very hierarchical. Like it's everything is, oh, you don't say this to the big boss, or you can't say this to that person because they're a level up than you and you're down. And it's I just came from a place where it wasn't truly like that. Yes, we knew that people were on different levels, but you could say anything to anyone. They weren't going to say, look at you like, why is this person speaking up in a meeting? You know? So
Yeah.
that was really difficult for me. But I'm aware that coming from TV culture is very different from many work cultures. So maybe that's just me.
Yeah, but I think there may be more hierarchy or more like this is the way we do it. Like I feel this. I drive around, the parking lot at the mall here, and when I first did that, I felt so constrained because like in the US you go up or down whatever way, but there is this is the direction you go. This is and so I feel like that may be a part of the work culture too. I've not worked in France or for an international company, so I
No,
really
it's
can't say.
true.
But
It's true because there's also a thing here of how you must have studied a certain thing to get a job in that. So it's not like where in the US, maybe you could study basket weaving and get a job as, I don't know, like a teacher or something like that. You have to have studied exactly the job you are going into, which is why so many people have multiple master's degrees here. For one, they're either free or cheap, but then also, oh, if I want to pivot into this, I've got to go get a master's for that. And I think that for me, my CV didn't really make sense to people here because they're like, oh, well, wait, but she was an international.
It didn't make sense.
Yes, it didn't make sense. And I was just like, okay, well, I'm not going to get 5 master's degrees.
Yeah, yeah. So that's really interesting. We were speaking about earlier. We've got a question here about apartments and renting versus buying. Winter SVIC wonders, what's better, buying versus renting?
I think buying is definitely an amazing thing to be able to do. It's just kind of knowing where you want to be and probably visiting or living here for a certain amount of time before making a big purchase, because there are a lot of kind of hidden things to know when you are buying a place in Paris. Like, has the facade been done recently? Because you want it to be done, because the facades in Paris have to be redone. The front of the building has to be redone every 10 years. If you get your apartment on year 9, very next year, you're about to get a huge bill from your building saying, oh, we're redoing the front, and now you have to pay that. So it's a lot of these little things that you hear from French people that you learn over time, where you're just like, okay, now I have all the information I need to buy. But I mean, there are people that will help you buy even if you're just visiting. But for me, I'd want to rent for a while before buying.
Yeah, and rent and kind of get to know the neighborhoods because the neighborhoods are very different, I imagine.
They are. And I do think also a lot of people, some people buy and they don't have like a mortgage or anything like that. I think that's obviously the easiest way if you're doing a
Yeah.
cash buy.
Yeah, it would be nice.
Nice. But I've had a lot of friends that have not done that, but all of them are working in Paris. So that makes it different because it is hard to get a bank loan here if your income is American income.
And you mentioned friends.
Yes.
And in your book, you mentioned that, during COVID, you had to lean on the support of friends.
Mhm.
How, you know, when I first moved to France, it felt so isolating. It felt it was challenging to make friends. I think for me, I think one of the things that has helped is just being here long enough to just people realize, oh, she's not going anywhere. It's safe for me to connect with her. But how did you navigate um, meeting people, making friends when you first arrived?
Well, it was difficult, but what helped me is that I did move for the master's program. So
Mm.
it was already a set group of people for me to become friends with. But what was difficult is that Paris is a very transient city. And when my program finished, a lot of my friends could not get jobs here because the job market is also extremely tough.
Um,
So a lot of them moved back to the US. So it's like you're constantly making friends. I have friends that I met via my job. And some of them also moved back to the US or moved to different countries because their work contract was up. Or some people move because they need to take care of their elderly parents or different things like that. So you're constantly having to be social. And I say that as someone who does not have a child or a husband. There are friends of mine who do have children that they've raised in France. And generally, if you meet people with families, they're the ones that
yeah.
normally stay the longest. So those are my friends that have been here for 20 more years or so. But it can be difficult, but I've met people a number of ways. There's
Mhm.
always something to do here. And you just really need
Mhm.
to be open.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that, for me, I'm an introvert, right? So I knew when I moved that I was going to have to be very intentional
Mhm,
about um, putting myself out there.
mhm,
And over time, I did that over time. Now I have a good set of friends who I know would be there for me in a pinch. Um, but moving abroad and not having that network initially is a daunting thing, definitely.
it is, and then trying to find the right type of people because everyone you'll meet socially.
That
Yes,
because I did fall into that trap initially. I was like, I just want people to,
yes,
and then I'm like, oh no, your energy is not so good. Maybe
yes.
maybe I need to be a little more selective, right?
I think that happens to all of us.
Yeah, yeah. Well, what would you say has been the hardest part of transitioning to a new life in France and in Paris?
Hmm. I would say the language is one of the hardest parts
Mm.
for me because I did learn French before coming, but I wasn't very good in French. And I mean, in my opinion now, I'm still not very good. And I speak it and I understand everything, but it's still very difficult for me. And I think it's difficult for people who can really communicate in their native language.
Mhm.
It's like what
Mhm.
Sofia Vergara said. She said, "I'm so like smart and funny in Spanish." I think is her quote. And it's just like, yes, like in English, I'm great. But then I feel like in French, it doesn't translate the same because I'm thinking of my conjugations and different things like that. And so it's like
Mhm.
you're almost two different people. You're a
Mhm.
person in English and you're a person in French. And that's been
Mhm.
difficult for me because sometimes there are things I want to express, complex things that I want to express that I'm unable to in French.
Yeah, I think when you said you're two different people, like when you're in two different languages, I had a guest who said that, oh yeah, I have a different personality. When I speak
Mhm,
French, I have a different personality and I noticed that about myself too.
mhm,
I moved to France when I was 51. So at that point, I had really started to kind of feel more confident in myself and my voice,
mhm,
and then learning French, and then not necessarily truly understanding the culture, not wanting to
mhm,
step in it, holding myself back. And now, my French is pretty good, but I still can sense that I'm not the same,
yeah,
or as I don't say forceful. as I would be if I were speaking English. And I think that, maybe over time that will come, but definitely a challenge. Definitely a challenge. Would you say that you say you get by or you do okay?
Yeah, I do. I'm not giving any speeches.
But so how did you learn the language?
So before I moved, I actually did a French class at the French Church in New York. It's on the Upper East Side. They have free classes. I'm not sure if they still do, but they used to have free French classes. And I had a French tutor. And that did not work out that well for me because once I arrived in France, none of it really worked for me. I was just like, oh, I thought I learned something, but I don't really understand what they're saying to me. So I took a lot of different classes. I did virtual classes. I did Alliance Française. I did a number of classes. But to be honest, COVID was a big part of me really leveling up my French. Well,
Oh,
starting my
really?
job as well, where it was very international. And because the international organizations have two languages, French and English, a lot of times, even mid-sentence, someone would switch to a different language. So you had to always be on top of it to understand what was going on. And sometimes I didn't make it, but I learned a lot. But during COVID, because there were so many masks, you weren't able to see people's lips when they
Oh,
were talking.
yes.
A lot of times you had to make phone calls because we couldn't really go out. And it really improved my listening. So I was just sitting at home, locked in, watching French television. And that really improved my French a lot. But I would still say
Mhm.
my personality, I guess my personality in French is improving. I used to be very timid and shy in French. Now I'm a little less. But yeah, it's a work
Yeah.
in progress.
Yeah. And you talk about COVID and the masks, but also those plexiglass barriers that muffle the sound. I was like, huh? Oh
Yes.
my gosh. So here's something. Bernadette. Hi, Bernadette. Good. I'm glad you could join us. Sounds like Robin has had to climb over many hurdles, cultural and others. That is understood. But what has kept you here after 10 years, regardless of these hurdles?
Oh, well, there's been a number of things that have kept me here. For starters, I will be 5 years cancer free in, I guess, July. And that's a big
There's
deal.
that bell. Ding, 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 ding.
That's a big deal. And I didn't want to be so far away from my doctors when I'm still in that very precious time zone of the first 5 years, especially
Mhm.
considering that it was my second time having cancer.
Yeah.
So wanting to have like close proximity with my doctors. I love my community here. I have a lot of really, really good friends that have really been there for me, that we have a great time. And I love the quality of life. Like the quality of life is unmatched. There's so much culture to take in France, and it's not
Mhm.
even expensive. There's so many places you can travel within France. I love traveling in France.
Mhm.
It's You've got mountains, you've got beaches, you've got everything. I love it
Mhm.
so much. There are so many things I love about France, and I so many things I'm grateful to France for that it definitely kept me here for 10 years plus.
Mhm. Yeah, and you're a citizen now, right?
I am. Yes, I
Mhm.
am.
Yeah. Congratulations on that too.
Thank you. Thank you.
Um, Here's another question from Miss Sierra. If you had to do it again, what would you change about your move?
Whew, Sierra. I know I would say when I moved to France, I was maybe like A1, A2 level French. I probably wouldn't move until I was maybe a B1, just because your quality of life improves so much when you really have the language. And I feel like if I had arrived at an intermediate level, everything would have gone much smoother for me. And I probably would have found an apartment before arriving. I know that's controversial because you want to be able to see a place, but I saw so many beautiful apartments on expat agencies. I was like, oh, when I get there, I'll see this place and that place. Those places were gone, they were snapped up. And if I had seen a beautiful place that I wanted, I should have just gone for it ahead of time to save myself all the heartache and drama of seeing so many different apartments.
Mhm.
What else? No, maybe those are the two things, I
Mhm. The
think. Probably
language and
yes, and a better preparation for the job market as well, just knowing how tight the job market is here. and what the salary expectations are.
You say better preparation.
Yes.
Just knowing that it was going to be as tough
Just
as it was.
just knowing that it was as tough, and then knowing also the salary expectations.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because I feel like everything that I read was telling me that I could get a beautiful 1 bedroom for 1,000 a month, and that I could get a job working and making like, I don't know, like 60,000 or something like
Hmm.
that, which
Hmm.
you can make 60,000, but 60,000 is considered basically a rich person's salary here.
Hmm.
And
Oh
that is
yeah.
what was missing from that context. I didn't know that if you're making 60,000, you are doing very well. Whereas
Hmm.
in the US, 60,000, like, you're okay.
Okay. Okay.
Those are things I wish I had known.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. There's another question here about language. Why did the classes at the church and with the tutor not really work? Were they too basic?
The
Thank you,
classes at
Frankie
the church,
Santos.
yes, thank you for your question. The classes at the church, it was honestly, I want to say 35 to 40 of us in a room learning from the teacher. It was just too many students. We had
Mm,
no speaking experience, and I just think the class was too big. With my tutor, she was very good, but she was American. She was an American French honors graduate. And I think I honestly needed someone with a French accent, a French native accent, because I could understand her and what she's saying to me. But then when I got over here and people were speaking the native French, it was very different. It was hers was
mhm.
very textbook French. And what they were saying to me were things that she did not teach me in the accent that I didn't really know.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it was really difficult.
And I think that that might be difficult, like, until you get here for some of those
Yes.
things, right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Mhm,
Sometimes there's no real way to fully prepare, but I do know that now they have sites like Preply and things like that where you can get a native speaker to tutor
mhm.
you one to one.
Yeah, yeah, and I will add on what I did to learn was I took the Pimsleur method,
Mm,
and that is an audio program that I listened to 30 minutes a day on my morning walk. I repeated the lessons. I went through all 5 levels and then went back and started at level 2 again and kind of just drilled that in, and that was really, really helpful to me, and that's what I did before I moved to I did have a tutor as well to kind of talk to when I was in the States.
mhm.
That's what I did when I until to get here, and then when I realized, yeah, no, yeah, you can understand slow spoken French, but you can't read or write it. Yeah, maybe you
Mm.
need to take a class. Then I did sign up for a proper French class here. So I
And
think it really.
Is
What's
Pimsleur
that?
the one that the State Department uses as well? Because I've heard
Perhaps
good
I'm
things
not
about
sure.
Pimsleur.
I'm not sure. It's for me. Like I started learning Spanish 3 years ago. I stopped that, but and I bought Pimsleur again just because it was the prompts are in English, but it gets you speaking right away. Whereas I think a
Mhm.
lot of times some people will study, they will study a book, but then they're afraid to speak. And I think, when you're going to move someplace, speaking is like is one of the most important things. Of course, you're going to want to
Abs
learn to read and write, but speaking is very important. So yeah, I'm not sure if the State Department uses that or not. I have to look into that. But
Yeah.
we got another question here. Can you explain the title of your book?
Ah, yes. So, I actually got the title from a friend, but the title that she gave me was Surviving in Paris, a memoir of healing and illness in the City of Light. And she she moved to Paris with her husband. Her husband got a job in Paris. So they were kind of set up through the job and, were able to find the apartment and this and that. It's much different when you move for a job that's sponsoring the visa. And for me, I was like, you know what? I want to take out the in, surviving in Paris, because honestly, it's surviving Paris. And when you think about it, it's about apartments, it's about dating,
Mhm.
it's about trying to find your community. It's about trying to get a job. It's about all these different things that when you decide to pick up your life and move it abroad, these are the things that you're surviving. So that's why I called it Surviving Paris. And I took out the word illness just because I didn't want anyone to feel down about my book, because I don't think it's a sad book personally. But
There's a lot of humor in
yes,
it.
thank you. And I feel like healing denotes that something happened anyway. So that's why the title is Surviving Paris, a memoir of healing in the City of Light. And of course, we know City of Light is Paris. So
Great, great. And I dropped a link to where you can pick up a copy of Robin's book if you have not already gotten yours.
thank you. I hope you'll all check it out. The paperback is coming out in September as well.
Oh, okay. All right. Linda Firth asks, did either of you try using a recruitment agency in France?
In terms of for jobs, I'm guessing is what
I'm assuming, yeah.
No, I did not. I have been reached out to by recruiters before, but not a recruitment agency. For me, I'm not sure if there's something that exists in my field for that. I feel like that's more of a corporate situation.
Well, and so there is Pôle Emploi, or maybe they've changed their name now. Did you use them? Were they helpful at all?
I did not use Pôle Emploi. I mean, I always kind of thought, maybe I'm wrong, I've never actually really looked into them. I always thought that was for people on chômage, people that are on unemployment, to go and try to get jobs and get off of unemployment. I didn't think that it was something that if you're someone moving from abroad, you could go to them and get support for job searching.
Yeah, I don't know whether that's the case or not. I did not use a recruitment agency because I am self-employed. So I'm looking for jobs all the time on my own. All right, and we got you in order. We'll order. Thank you, Miss Sierra. All right. We've got a few more minutes left. If you've got questions, now is the time to drop them in the comments section, or the comment section, and we'll get to those. Would you say that how are you different having moved to France, having lived in France for 10 years?
It's hard for me to uncouple how I changed living here and how I changed going through cancer twice. So that's a bit difficult for me, because sometimes I think it's kind of both. All my changes are like hand in hand with that, because I would say the biggest change is just the way I view life. And I don't let people stress me out anymore. I try to really manage my peace. I try to leave everything at the door if I can. And I do find that, in France, as I said before, the quality of life is amazing. Some of them will say that they're working like crazy. I will acknowledge that. But however, they enjoy themselves. I mean, today's a holiday and everyone's off again tomorrow as well. So there's lots of time for enjoyment. And that's what I love about living here. And I feel like I've really been able to fully enjoy this life, this one life that we have on this earth. And that's been a major change for me. And also, it's just opened my eyes up to so many different ways of life. It's really been interesting to see people's opinions and ideas and how the different cultures mesh here. It's really changed my outlook, I think, on life. I don't see things as black and white as I used to.
Yeah, you're managing your stress, not letting things stress you out so much. Are there things, because that's nice. It's nice to say, but are there tools that you use, or what do you do to when the administrative stuff starts to get to you? Are there things that you tap into that help you?
Yes, I do a lot of exercising, a lot of working out to really channel that energy to get that out there. And a lot of times just going for a walk. Actually, my doctor told me that, research has shown that spending time by water is very good for your health. And I live not too far from the river. So a lot of times I'll just go for a walk, take myself on a nice long walk by the river, and just something about that is just really calming for me. And that's very helpful. I've also like taken up meditation and prayer, and there's a lot of different tools in the toolbox.
Yeah.
It depends on how upset I am. If I'm very upset, then I'm going to my boxing class. That's what I really need to get it out. But otherwise, there are other tools that I use.
Yeah. I asked that just because I'm a coach, and so that's I'm curious to see how people do that. And I want to say that being, the question was, how has living in France changed you? And you said it's kind of like the combination of going through cancer twice and living in France has helped you to not stress out so much. I think that for me, I didn't move for school. I took a sabbatical. I just needed a break. And I think one of the things that I experience here is just not feeling that undercurrent of tension right off the bat. Just being in France, there's just I feel different here. And then on top of that, as you say, the French know how to relax and enjoy themselves. And so, even though I am, I work hard with my business, I take time to relax because, well, that's what people do here. And I'm starting to kind of like take that on now. I'm still a recovering type A personality, but I've got reminders around me all the time. And so I think that has helped me as well. So I just wanted to share that. I kind of feel you there.
And I feel like there was something else. There was a woman that asked what also keeps me here. And it's something that I don't think about often, but it's actually a major thing, is that I feel very safe here. You mentioned that there's no underlying tension. I will say when I first moved here, I didn't feel so safe. I moved here 1 year after the November 13th attacks, terrorism attacks. There have been a lot of terrorism attacks when I, like right before I moved. And at that time, it was nothing but military walking around with their automatic rifles everywhere.
Yeah. That's scary.
They were posted up in front of the grocery store door with their guns. And I was just like, this is terrifying. And they're like, but you're American. I'm like, it's not like that in America. I don't know. We don't have any assault rifles.
At least not visible, right?
Right. They were everywhere. But now when I think about even possibly moving somewhere else, I just have to think about the fact that I can walk home at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., and I feel safe. I don't ever think about, oh, someone's going to shoot this place up, which sometimes I think when I'm in the US, like where are the exits? You don't really think about those types of things because guns are here, but nowhere to the same level as it is in the US. And that feeling of safety, you really can't put a price on that.
Yeah. All right, we got some more questions coming in here. Okay, I think we have addressed this earlier, but I'm going to put it up again. What did you study when you were on a student visa? Was the program taught predominantly in English?
Hello. The program was taught 100% in English because it was at the American University of Paris. I got a master's degree in global communications with a concentration on visual theory and material culture. So the American University of Paris is actually accredited in Delaware, so you can get federal student loans to pay for your education there. That was a big part for me because I didn't have money saved up to do a school program. And I got a master's, which I was very glad that I got because France is very big into master's degrees. I didn't know that. Coming from journalism, you can be a journalist for many, many years and not ever have a master's. But having that master's opened me up to so many more job openings because a lot of the job openings will say must have a master's degree, which is something that I didn't really experience in the US. So I'm really glad that I did it.
Great. Thank you. Self-care is self-love. Have you had many friends and family come to visit you in Paris? what are their reactions? Do they see that evolution in your spirit?
Yes, I have a lot of friends and family visit, mostly friends. My sister has come several times. My parents have come several times. And whenever people come, they love it. Some of them say they don't understand how I live here full time. They're like, it's cool for a vacation, but I don't understand how you're actually living here. But they can see that I'm happy and they're happy about that. They say that there's something different about me than when I was living in New York and going through the rat race.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. I think people can't help but to see when there's that shift in energy. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
All right. Well, Robin, I don't see any more questions. Kristen Hill. Hi, Kristen. Glad you could join. I feel you on the safety. One of the things I felt when I first got here. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We're not in Paris, though.
Well, I'm sure it's just as safe in the South. So
yeah, in the South, in an 8,000 person village. So, we're at the end of our time. I've shared a couple of times in the chat where they can pick up your book, where they can follow you on Substack. Is there anything else you would like to share with people who maybe are considering a move to France or to Paris? Any parting words that you'd like to share?
I would say that if you're thinking about doing it, or even if it's not Paris or France, wherever you're thinking of moving, do it. But don't have the idea that if you do it for a short amount of time, that it's a failure. I think in the US, a lot of times we think, oh, I failed if I'm going back. I talk about that in my book. I would feel like a failure if I went back after 2 years. And like, why? Who cares? Who cares? Who says it has to be an entire lifetime that you're staying there? You can move there. You can move somewhere else. Just try it out. Life is too short not to try. So I support you. You have my support if that counts for anything.
Yeah, I agree with you. If you have that dream in your heart, go for it and see. You don't know until you try. And then, if it doesn't work out, if it's not for you, you know that. And you can say, you're not going to wonder, oh, I wonder what would have been. So I absolutely agree there. Well, before we go, I just want to reiterate that if you are interested in joining my Women Rising Roundtable on the 30th, the topic is, again, the audacity to desire, expanding what you allow yourself to want. I've put the link in the chat. It's going to be a great conversation. There are 7 slots still available, and I hope to see you there. All right. I hope that you thoroughly enjoyed this time with Robin. Be sure to check out her book. I've put the link to where you can get that in the comments as well. And I want to thank everybody who joined us live, and those who are joining on the replay. If you have not yet, please give this video a thumbs up, because that helps with the algorithm and more people will be able to see it. So I would appreciate you doing that. And if you haven't subscribed, subscribe. All right. Thank you, everybody. And I look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care. Thank you, Robin.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.